Okay. Ashok ji, my
Yes.
wish.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Baba ki jai.
My wish, the lover has to keep the wish of the beloved. My wish for my lovers is as follows. 1. Do not shirk your responsibilities. 2. Attend faithfully to your worldly duties, but keep always at the back of your mind that all this is Baba's. 3. When you feel happy, think Baba wants me to be happy. When you suffer, think Baba wants me to suffer. 4. Be resigned to every situation and think honestly and sincerely. Baba has placed me in this situation. 5. With the understanding that Baba is in everyone, try to help and serve others. 6. I say with my divine authority to each and all, that whosoever takes my name at the time of breathing his last comes to me. So do not forget to remember me in your last breath. Unless you start remembering me from now on, it will be difficult to remember me when your end approaches. You should start practicing from now on. Even if you take my name only once every day, you will not forget to remember me in your dying moments. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Jai.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Thank you. So we continue to be reading the nothing and the everything. We are on page 30 on, I mean, the physical page. Sorry. What am I doing?
Just
Yeah,
one
we,
minute, Karthik. Uh,
sure.
Bamaji, I put the material that you gave me on PowerPoint. Do you want to run through it now? Or you want to? Sorry, Ashokji, not Bamaji.
Yeah, so I was actually getting to it in a minute. So we were to see if we can do the Nirvana and Nirvikalpa discussion if Shok is ready. So you put those the search together, is it? Sunil, thank you so much.
Yeah, Ashok gave me a Word file which I put it on a PowerPoint, so it's easy to view. But
Mhm.
content is Ashok's completely. So
Content is Baba's.
Baba, okay, Baba's understanding is Ashok's.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
understanding is mine. Best understanding, I guess, others in the group, Kama, Raviji. Yeah, so we can ask questions.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, you run it either way is good.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, so we want to do this in the beginning or we can do it in the end? Or how do you want to do it?
We can take it up now, no problem.
Yeah, since it's pending from yesterday, finish it and
True.
then we can go
And
forward.
then
Yeah,
we
yeah.
continue
I'll,
beyond. Yeah.
I'll finish it. The way I want to do it is that I'll try to explain this. There is actually there is a content from the discourses and God speaks, and that's the
Hmm.
way I have. And uh, there's also an additional diagram which I made, which I will show in the end. But first, we'll try to finish all uh, the presentation, and then we'll try to move ahead. And I must say that this is work in progress, and we can always you know uh, improve this from here onwards. So it's a joint effort for the entire group for our learning and understanding. And I pray to Baba that if there are any errors, he will give us the strength to make the corrections. So you want me to start presenting? How do I do that?
Yes, sir. All yours.
Okay, 1 second.
You already know that you're the team's expert on the group, so leave it to you.
Not
Pulling your leg.
no. It's okay. I do use it for.
All your presentations. Yeah, I know.
I do use it, but
It's just in your head
yes,
that you
correct.
think that you don't know.
Correct.
Be like Mamaji. Mamaji is cool.
Yeah.
There you go. Jai Baba.
Jai
Let me see
Baba.
the screen.
Sorry, just have to put the slideshow. Yes. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Please
So
go
here
ahead.
it's
Others can mute. And over to you. Please jump in when you have questions and unmute and ask. Go ahead, Ashok.
so basically Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. This is an attempt to understand Nirvana, Nirvikalpa, and Moksha. And the content is extracted from God Speaks and discourses, but predominantly from God Speaks. So here I try to make it as simple as possible. Okay, now this is from the chart 11 of God Speaks. So basically trying to understand uh, Nirvikalpa and Nirvana. So in the Sufi, they call it fana, the final fana, or Nirvana. It means that the manonash, or the annihilation of the mind, and there is an absolute vacuum state. And this is the transition for people who have reached the sixth plane, and then it's beyond that, right? So in the process of involution, and the references are given here. Okay, and this is from the chart 11 at the end of the book, towards the end of God Speaks. Now, in the chart, they have compared Nirvikalpa with Manonash and Aham Brahmasmi in the Fanafila, or the Nirvikalpa stage, with Nirvana. So this is how it is exactly put in the chart. Yeah. Although we had a discussion and we are trying to compare Nirvikalpa with Nirvana. So just from 127 of God Speaks, the experience of the first stage of Fana is the state of Nirvana. And Nirvana is a state where apparently God is not. This is apparently because God always exists. He was there in the past, he is there today, he'll be there in the future. But this is a unique stage where God is not and consciousness is. And this experience of the first stage of Fana is what Buddha emphasized. But later on it was misinterpreted, a Buddha having emphasized that there was no God. The reality remains, however, that God is, but in the absolute vacuum stage of the first stage of Fana. Only consciousness remains experiencing absolute vacuum. So the highlighted part is important, as it can never happen for God not to exist. In the case of Nirvana, God plays the part of consciousness itself, which consciousness is sometimes termed super consciousness or Mahachaitanya. So this is a unique stage where God, acquires consciousness, and which is termed as super consciousness or Mahachaitanya. But in some cases, when we say here in some cases, each has its own journey. So the stage which is mentioned maybe bypassed, or can be different for different people, as Kama usually puts it, different strokes for different folks. So, however, it is only in some cases that the first stage of Fana is immediately followed by the second stage of Fana, called Fanafila, which is basically Fana is Nirvana, and the second stage is Nirvikal Samadhi, where the annihilated false and limited ego or I is replaced by the real infinite unlimited I, on which super consciousness now becomes automatically focused. Simultaneously, the absolute vacuum is automatically filled by the experience of the infinite. So some people may pass through nirvana, some people may go straight to nirvikalpa samadhi, depending on their prarabdha or sanskaras. Is what I have understood from that. Okay. Only when the impression consciousness is freed from all impressions is liberation or mukti in human form attained as nirvana or fana, where only consciousness is, and where all else or nothing which was of nothingness vanishes forever. Okay. Now, in the case of only in case of one who retains the body for 3 to 4 days after nirvana, does the liberated consciousness invariably realize eternal godhood in the second stage of fana, that is phanafila, and asserts itself as I am God without doubt. So this is the nirvikalpa stage where uh, they may retain the body they usually do retain the body, but it is usually for 3 to 4 days. But in some exceptional cases, they can also be for more than 3 to 4 days. So it all depends on your own prarabdh or your sanskaras. So in rare cases, they can even be alive, or they can retain them. I mean, sorry, not alive. They can retain the body for more than 3 to 4 days, and people who get associated with people in this nirvikalpa state can also get benefits by being associated with them. This is the nirvikalpa state of undoubtedly I am God, when literally the impressionless or unimpressioned consciousness linked with human form realizes I am God, I was God, and forever will remain God as existence eternal and conscious. Right? Okay, then now here the superconsciousness of God in man's state as man now fixed and focused on the limited eye spontaneously identifies with the God, the infinite. So this is a shift here. Okay, that is all uh, the duality is you know moved to reality. So there's a paradigm shift here. So the God in man state or the human form now gets merged with God, the infinite. And this attainment of the goal is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Now, there's a footnote and there's a question which we can discuss later on. I'll just explain this. The soul has necessity to pass through the state of nirvana to attain liberation, mukti. Escape from rounds of birth and death is attained both in nirvana and nirvikalpa. It is because of this that nirvana is supposed to be the goal, but the fact is that the real goal for one human form is to attain nirvikalpa. And there is a world of difference between nirvana as goal and nirvikalpa, the goal. So I would like to understand this as well, because nirvana as goal and nirvikalpa the goal. So this needs a little bit of a discussion. Uh, and then on page 148.
No, hold on. Let's do it now rather than go ahead, right?
So now I want a discussion on there is a world of difference between nirvana as goal and nirvikalpa the goal. This is from the footnote.
This is from 128, right?
Yeah, page 128 of the hard copy of God Speaks.
Perfect.
I've given the references for everybody to be in sync.
Super. So, any thoughts, any inputs for the highlighted part? So, the goal is Nirvikalpa, but
As goal is nirvana. Yes, rightly, assessed, Karthik. And
What I've understood is uh, when you talk about nirvana, as one can interpret it as that every drop soul goal is nirvana. Okay, which also implies, and which we also know from the divine theme, that um, the whole, the whole most original whim, the whole process of evolution, reincarnation, involution, and realization in this nirvana or mononash or annihilation of the mind, or what you call as first stage of real fana, That is the goal for all the drop souls. Whereas Nirvikalpa, the goal, as Ashok read, some of the souls go from first stage of Fana to second stage of Fana, real Fana, which is Nirvikalpa Samadhi or Satchitananda. So, I mean, this is the only interpretation that I can understand based on what we have read from God Speaks. Now, if somebody can also throw more color on it, uh, I think that, um, as Doc Mama said, I would like to be Sadguru. So, if we at least try to focus on the highest state, probably it's like everybody wants to score 100%, right? But even if you score 35% and you pass, so one can say Nirvana as goal is like scoring 35%. Nirvikalpa Samadhi is probably 60% or 70%, and Nirvikalpa Samadhi leads to Sahaja Samadhi, where you can either be a Jivan Mukta, which is passive divinity, divinity in action, and Sahaja Samadhi as Sadguru will be dynamic divinity, or they have spiritual duties, as we know. Of course, nobody can become avatar because that, as that part is over, because it is the first drop soul that took it. So that is my interpretation. Jai Baba.
Anybody else would like to dwell on this?
Yeah, can I come in?
Please.
Yeah. See, Nirvana and Nirvikalpa, right? That's what we are trying to understand. See, what is Nirvana? See, you are in sixth plane. This means you are in a mental plane and you have mental sanskaras and you have no other sanskaras. They are very, very light. And then you see God everywhere. And then you are ready to cross the bridge of sixth plane to the seventh plane. How do you cross that? It's not possible by us. It's only possible by pushing off a perfect master, a God realized soul, perfect master or avatar. Now, what happens in that process is, what are you? You are nothing but, you have a gross body and your mind is having mental sanskaras. And because you have mental sanskaras, you are in the world of duality. Now, where is this world of duality exist? Everything exists in the God state. There's no thing that does not exist outside the God. There's no such thing as outside. So this world of duality exists in the God. So it is in the God because you have sanskaras. You see that with the mind, sanskaras. When the perfect master cleans out, when he thinks you are ready to cross, he cleans out all the sanskaras. And that qualifies you from being in a world of duality to step into the seventh plane. Now, what does it happen? What does it mean by stepping into the seventh plane? Nothing happens. You are with the gross body. You are with the physical body. But how you experience your consciousness experiences changes totally different. Now your consciousness doesn't have any sanskaras and there is no mind. And so that is a state of, for some time, you are in that state that is called nirvana or fana. Nirvana is nothing but you have a physical body and you have a mind that is completely gone because sanskaras are nothing but, mind is nothing but a bunch of sanskaras. That mind is gone, but your consciousness now is there. It is full of vacuum. Now, for some people, okay, and we have to understand very carefully, some people immediately get the nirvikalpa state. That means you get God realization. That means your self is replaced with the universal ego. Your ego is gone because all these mental samskaras are gone. So what happens that ego is replaced by the universal mind, and you experience one with every entity in this world, but you still have that physical mind. Now, why am I saying some people? Because some people experience immediately, but every person who crosses this temporarily stay in that nirvana state, depends upon the prarabdha. Some people get immediately and some people get over different times. But nobody stays forever, hang on, and the nirvana state. Everybody gets God realization. That is the consummate consciousness, that infinite consciousness, unconsciousness becomes one with the consciousness. So nirvana is nothing but clearing of all the samskaras, being in the divine vacuum, and that is the state. That is a intermediate state to become one with the God. That is nirvikalpa state. I hope I made it clear.
Yeah, just summarize.
Jay Baba, there is a clarification here. You say everybody gets Nirvikalpa Samadhi, but we know that in ordinary mukti, there is only bliss. So how
Yeah.
do you handle that? It is not
Yeah.
an intermediary state. As Baba said, Buddha stopped at nirvana because nirvana is for every drop soul. But not every drop soul is going to experience Nirvikalpa Samadhi or God realization, which is Satchitananda.
Yeah,
So,
I can explain
whether
you.
you are in nirvana before
Yeah.
death, 1 second, and whether you are in ordinary mukti or moksha after death, you are only experiencing bliss. So, there is definitely when you're saying everyone, then it's incorrect. A few
I can explain
souls
that.
who are in
Can I explain that?
nirvana. So, once again, let me finish. The divine absolute vacuum state in nirvana, where consciousness is and God is not, and then that divine absolute vacuum state is filled by the unlimited ego, or which is then, as you rightly said, becomes the universal mind. So I'll stop there, Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just sort of summarize.
Let me finish. Let me explain, if you can allow me, Ashok.
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
Okay. Now I was talking about only there are two categories, right? There are two categories, which I didn't talk about it. One category is the people who get ordinary mukti. That is, and we read it yesterday. The people who pass on for 2-3 days, the soul hovers around the physical body, and they get the mukti. Mukti means they get one union with the God, and they are done. I'm not talking about that. What I talked about, nirvikalpa, only happens when the people are in the physical body, in the gross body. For those people, those are number 53 number at any point of time. If one person drops, there is immediately the other person who is in queue, they get the nirvana or nirvikalpa. So this is for the people who are in mukti. Everybody who are in physical body, who are destined to get God realization, they have to go through nirvana. But the question is when. That's all. Nobody gets hanging in the nirvana state. Everybody gets God realization. But question of when. That's all. Any more doubts, Kama?
Can you give some reference on that? I have not seen any reference where you're saying that everybody who has nirvana gets nirvikalpa samadhi. It's clearly said that some souls.
Yeah, some
So
souls
I'm
immediate. Here, some souls immediately. That's what Baba said. Immediately. The
yeah.
word immediately. But what about the other souls? Do they mean they are hanging around there? No, everybody gets.
Yeah, they are in bliss state. They don't need to have experience, knowledge, or anything. Nirvikalpa samadhi. I have never, I have not read anywhere that nirvana is the intermediary state. It definitely stays is the first stage of fana. And what you're saying right now is this is for souls who have retained their body, that is, who before death, because only before death that nirvikalpa samadhi and nirvana or nirvikalpa samadhi happens. But from my understanding of God speaks that nirvana is for everyone, which is liberation, which we call as mukti. And mukti, as we know, is got many different categories, which also includes ordinary mukti or moksha, which is after death. So I mean, I don't mind. I would like to get that
Yeah.
clarity
See, this is
whether
not.
nirvana
Uh,
is an intermediary state. Yes,
can I just
because it's not very
It is.
clear. Yeah.
Yeah,
can I
it is
can
not
we
very clear in God Speaks.
can,
Well, if you read other books of Meher Baba, I cannot tell you, but in God Speaks, it's not very clearly written here. But Baba, what wrote in God Speaks is some people immediately get the Nirvikalpa state. That's all he wrote. But
okay.
every living entity becomes union with the God. When they get it is in different times. Yeah. Ashok, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, no, Ravi, what I'm saying is that let me just finish. There is a chart which Baba has summarized, and which talks about ordinary moksha, ordinary mukti, videya mukti. So I probably some of the answers will come also from. But one thing is definite is that well, whether we are in nirvana or we get into nirvikalpa samadhi, there is a transition from the world of duality to the world of reality. At least to that extent, because we have all members in the group with so that for their benefit, and from chart 11, what I understand is that when we enter into the annihilation of mind or manonash, which is the nirvana stage, there is a transition, or there is a uh, you know a paradigm shift from the world of duality, which is up to the first to the sixth plane. We enter into plane 7, just for a very simple understanding at this stage. And then let me also, there is also a chart which Baba has summarized, and thereafter there is a progression. I mean, once from Nirvikalpa Samadhi, we get into some people get they become Brahmibhuts, some people become Paramahansa, some people become Jivan Mukta, and very rare, the rarest of the rare and the highest part, they become Sadgurus, and of course beyond that is Avatar, and above Avatar is the beyond state of God, which is beyond comprehension, is what I could understand. And with that, if you allow me, shall I continue?
Uh, can I have a word?
Yeah, please, please.
If this is the discussion, then I have 2 points to be clarified. One is those who are in Nirvikalpa are those 56 God realized souls. And the other,
Bamaji, yes, 56 God realizer soul. Yes.
yeah. And the other one is there Nirvana and Mukti the same, or is there a final difference between them?
Mamaji, if I may answer this, there is a finer difference. Nirvana and Nirvikalpa Samadhi can happen before death,
See,
and while retaining the bodies,
and
but ordinary mukti or ordinary moksha happens after death. There is a table coming up a couple of slides away, which will probably answer your
Let's
query.
finish all the material, Ashokji.
Yeah, fine. So just give me just a couple of more minutes. I know it's good that I have enthused curiosity and a discussion. Let me just finish. And these are, and again I mentioned, this is a startup of the understanding, a startup enterprise of understanding, and of course,
Hey, we are going to be a unicorn, no startup.
okay,
Continue.
unicorn. Will be unicorn. Fine.
So,
no
but
problem.
what's the second question, Mamaji? You said you had two questions.
Yeah, please. Second question.
The question is Nirvana and Mukti the same, or is there any finer difference?
Okay, got it.
I think
Part
Ashok
question.
answered, Mamaji. Ashok answered. He's going to answer again.
Yes,
Just watch it. I think he's going to explain that.
I'll explain. There is a difference, Mamaji. Yes, there is a very subtle difference, and we will just probably it'll unfathom in the next few slides.
yes.
Jay Baba, I'll continue. With your permission, I'll continue. Okay. Now,
Jay Baba, can I have a little doubt? Can I just interject? I have a little doubt.
yes, please.
So we were talking about Nirvana and Nirvikalpa. So I read somewhere in a book reading that Nirvana state is equivalent to the beyond state of God as far as your consciousness is concerned. So this, it's like the beyond state of God. So you explained that from Nirvana, people who attain Nirvikalpa, they do it immediately in the next few days. So
Some of
those
them.
people,
Some of them. Some of them.
some of them. So therefore, the rest who do not get Nirvikalpa and are in the Nirvana state, which is like the beyond state of God, then they stay there forever. How do they again come back and get Nirvikalpa? As Ravi said, at some point they get Nirvikalpa.
Yeah, actually, Nirvana state is not equivalent to beyond state of God. Nirvana state is not a God state. As I think Ashok explained that before, not a God state is just a vacuum state.
No, it's just total
Let me finish,
unconsciousness.
But it is in a vacuum state that is a divine vacuum because it's all happening in the seventh plane. And beyond God also, if you look at the 10 states of God in the God Speaks, beyond state of God also in the divine vacuum state. So that is why probably somebody must have compared it, but Nirvana state is not beyond state of God. He has not got realized yet. It takes some time, our time, 2 days or immediately, or 2 days, or maybe some months, depends upon each personality. It takes some time to get the God realization state. I am God state. Aham Brahmasmi state. I hope I answered you, Soma.
Yes, thanks. But yes,
Jay
my
Baba,
question was.
I think Soma, I think your question is correct, and I think you're right. The divine absolute vacuum state is a form of nirvana. It's the bliss state. In God Speaks, Baba has clearly given the analogy between the bliss, the unconscious bliss that we experience in our ordinary sound sleep state. When you attain nirvana, you are consciously experiencing that bliss in the wake. So, what is state one beyond God state? There are only two states technically. Actually, there are infinite states of God, as we know, based on all the different kingdoms. But the two states that are very clearly given in God Speaks, the original state of God, state one, the beyond state of God, is the divine absolute vacuum state, but where God is, but consciousness is not, because God is unconscious of himself. Whereas the final state of God is where consciousness knows it is God, it is conscious of itself. So the difference is in beyond God state one, the original state of God, consciousness is not. That is why we have read in God Speaks, in the nirvana state, consciousness is, but God is not. So there is that intermediary state. So that particular state is the bliss state. And hence the second state of real fana, which is the nirvikalpa samadhi, that I think this is where the confusion is. Whether all souls who attain nirvana also experience nirvikalpa samadhi. From my reading, I believe not so. Just like when you are going from, like, not all souls become part of the 56 God realized people. because most of the souls who get Nirvikalpa Samadhi after 3 or 4 days drop their body. A few, based on their Prarabdha Sanskaras, will become part of the 56 God realized and go through the states of Majzup, state of Paramahamsa, Jivan Mukta, and Sadguru. So these are all predestined. Jai Baba.
Okay, I have made one more diagram. I will show that in the end, or if you want, I can show it right away. But thing is that it will only divert us from where we are. So basically, I also am of the opinion that only it's like a pyramid and the hierarchy. So maybe that's my thought process. But there is only some souls may get nirvikalpa samadhi and some may end at nirvana, is what I could also understand from my reading of God Speaks as well as the mention in discourses. Anyway, so that anything else you want to say, Kama, Mamaji, Ravi?
No, you can go ahead. So
Continue. Continue.
Yeah, I'll just continue and then
Thank you.
and this opens up an area for research. Anything contrary to what we have discussed, or we can always revisit. But please also mention, Somaji, please mention the page reference from where what you mentioned just now, so we can also.
No, it's not a page reference. It was one of the book readings where, yes, it was compared. The state of mind was compared to that of God in the beyond stage. So
Correct.
thank you, Kama, and thank you, Ravi, very much. So as I get to know, some people finish school, some people finish high school, some people finish PhD. That is the
Yes,
difference.
yes. And so you can think of it as a pyramid.
Some people by heart, some
Ravi,
people don't by heart. So we are all in the same kindergarten. Don't worry.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
so Ashok, 1 second. Regarding Mama's question, to Mama's question, which if I understood it right, he was asking what is the similarity or difference between nirvana, which is before death, and ordinary mukti or moksha, which is after death. See, one thing we have to be clear about the definition of the word mukti, which says, according to God speaks, is liberation. So there are different states of liberation, as we know, starting with ordinary mukti, and then the Videha mukti, Jivan mukti, and Parama mukti. And so the similarity between nirvana and moksha or ordinary mukti is that both experience bliss. This is my understanding. The difference is that nirvana happens before death, where sanskaras have become zero, whereas in ordinary mukti or moksha, a God fearing soul who drops his body with sanskaras gets moksha, which is experiencing only bliss but not experiencing infinite knowledge or infinite power. So that is the basic difference. Jai Baba.
Okay. With respect to our discussion, I also had attempted to make a small pyramid, which I will share also, which is not a part in the presentation, but I've opened it because this is something was also I had prepared. So moksha, if you look at this pyramid, it's sort of the an hierarchy, and when it tapers, it means only few, that's my understanding of that only few people will reach the top. Yeah, so moksha or ordinary mukti or najat as it's in Sufism is at the bottom of the pyramid. So all of us will at least reach here, and thereafter the Videha Mukta or Brahmibhut or Perfect One or Mazube Kamil is in the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, God merged, and there are different, and it is the Vidnyan Bhumika, right? Then we have the Paramhansa or Divine Superman, and this is the Turiya Avastha. Then we have the Jivan Mukta or the liberated incarnate. Then we have the Sadguru or perfect master or Kutub, and then the beyond state of God, which is not known or cannot be, comprehended from the literature. And for it's this is my understanding of, and here as a Jivan Mukta or Sadguru, you attain this with Sahaj Samadhi. So it'll come in a few moments from now, but this is what is my understanding of the whatever I have read. Okay, so I'll be sharing this also in a separate file. People can go through this as well and also reach back to me. Does it make sense? Because here it means that you are going up the hierarchy, and as you go up the hierarchy, lesser and lesser people would be in that. Of course, the top being the highest of the high, that is the avatar. He from the beyond state of God, which Kama tried to explain, comes into the beyond state of God. From the beyond one state, he comes to the other state where he is, you know, uh, visible to us. This is an area which is not known and inexplicable, because you cannot even reach that stage, right? So this is my understanding. I'll be sharing this as well. Let me just finish. Yeah.
Look, I have 2 points on this pyramid. One is this ordinary mukti or moksha are the souls which do not come back into the cycle of birth and death.
Yes, they will not come because moksha means
And also make it as a characteristic here. The other one is after the Sadguru, I think you need to place the avatar, and after that, the beyond state.
Correct. I'll do that. So here, this is a stage of liberation. I agree. This is a liberation. That means from the rounds of births and deaths,
Yes.
you.
Only then we have to think of those people who are in the pyramid after mukti till the Sadguru state. They are the souls which are taking birth to go through the say enlargement of their process of God realization, and then try to reach ultimate goal of Sadguru. So those are the souls which take birth to get more enlightenment, whereas those who are having ordinary mukti, they end their cycle there itself.
Yes, so most of us would, even if you reach this stage of ordinary mukti, it is a paradigm shift from the duality to reality. So here, there's a big shift. Of course, thereafter, you can always, it's like the hierarchy. You want to be a brigadier, you want to be uh, you know, the chief of arms, one of the armed forces, or you want to be the, the uh,
The commander for all the forces together. Okay.
so that is, of course, for different strokes for different folks. But this is also from the taken from uh, the God speaks and the charts. Okay, this is for understanding, of course. I hope I'll share this also. Yes, with some, and I've put avatar. I put avatar also. Avatar, Sadguru, or Perfect Master.
Wow.
There's some background noise. I'll press submit mute.
Ashok, why didn't you put, Ashok, my question is, why didn't you put Nirvana there? Because it's retro.
Okay. And I didn't have clarity, but I'll put it. I will have to improve this. Anyway,
Well, let's have him give all the talk and then write down the questions, and we can have a discussion at the last.
yes. Okay. Free. Then now I'll just finish my this thing. It'll take me another maybe 15 minutes. Okay. Now here there is this 4 types of mukti, and I put it into uh, you know this is all from the this is all taken from uh, God Speaks. These are some of my notes. I'm skipping this. This is from page 243 of God Speaks. So basically, Baba has also summarized this, but uh, you know, so there are 4 types of liberation or mukti, and all belong to the 7th plane: ordinary mukti, vidya mukti, jivan mukti, and param mukti. Okay, so ordinary mukti is achieved only after death by some exceptionally God-fearing, truth-loving, good souls, and this mukti usually comes 3 to 5 days after the soul has left the body. Since this mukti is attained without the body, the individual soul enjoys only bliss. So this is a stage where he enjoys only bliss. Although power and knowledge are there, but he is not cognizant of that. Such a mukta cannot experience them. Such a liberated soul is conscious only of bliss of union, and for him, creation no longer exists, thereby bringing an end to the constant round of births and deaths. Okay, now this is important for everybody in view of our discussion. Samadhi, Nirvikalpa Samadhi must not be confused with ordinary mukti or moksha state. Should a soul reach the mukti state, it does so after the death of the physical body. Such a soul reaches God, but this occurs only after death. Thus, there is an important distinction between ordinary mukti on the one hand and nirvilka samadhi on the other, because the latter is experienced while the soul retains the body and thus becomes videya mukta. Okay. Some, so now here to note that only some God realized souls known as videya muktas retain the body for 3 to 4 days after being realized. Their consciousness is merged completely in their own self, God, and they are not therefore conscious of their bodies or of creation. They experience constantly the infinite bliss, power, and knowledge of God, their own self now. So in the ordinary mukti, it was only Anand. Here in Videha Mukti, it's all the three: infinite bliss, power, and knowledge of God. Okay. So they experience constantly the infinite bliss, power, and knowledge of God, their own self now, but they cannot constantly use them in creation nor help others to attain liberation. So this is dormant. Nevertheless, their presence on earth for the few days they remain here is a center of radiation, is a center for the radiation of the infinite power, knowledge, and bliss of God. And those who approach them, serve them, and worship them are immensely benefited. Others retain the body for years according to the momentum of their prarabdha. The Videha Mukta is the Brahmi Mood or the Mazhub Kamil of the Sufis, and he experiences the triune nature of God, Sat Chit Anand, automatically. Trust this brings in some more light. Then the Jivan Mukta in Turiya Avastha, Fanamal Baka enjoys all bliss, all knowledge, all power, and his consciousness is of the I am God state, and also of the three spheres: gross, subtle, and mental, but being without duty, as he does not use knowledge and power for others. So the Jivan Mukta is in a passive form, and he does not perform any duties. The Param Mukta, and this is very important, is known as the perfect master, Kutub or Sadguru, comes back to normal consciousness after God realization and is simultaneously conscious of the I am God state and the three relative existence and their corresponding spheres. He not only enjoys all power, all knowledge, all bliss, but uses them in all the planes of existence through the universal mind and universal body. So here it is a question where he's in a dynamic stage and he uses this for the benefit of others also. Such Paramuktas are conscious of themselves as God, but in his both in his unmanifest and manifest aspects. They know themselves both as the unchangeable divine essence, Jat, Jat, and has infinitely varied manifestation, Sifat. They experience themselves as God apart from creation, as God the creator, preserver, and destroyer, and as God who has accepted and translated the limitations of creation. So here he is both creation conscious and God conscious. This means that such a one is conscious of every one of the 10 states of God shown on the chart facing page 158. The Param Mukta constantly experiences and uses the absolute peace and perfection of the triune nature of God at Sat Chidanand. He fully enjoys and suffers the divine sport of creation. He knows himself as God in everything and is therefore able to help everyone spiritually and can make other souls realize God as any of the four types of mukta. He is indeed the helper of humanity in particular and creation in general. So here is an active, the Param Mukta is in an active role. Okay. Now here, this is a summary of the various types of mukti as given by Meher Baba on page okay 244, towards the end of the discussion about nirvana and nirvikalpa samadhi. So here there is ordinary mukti. Here there is only bliss and no consciousness of I am God or of the duality. And is there any duty in duality? No. And then we have the Videha Mukti, and which is, you know, uh, Videha Mukti comes to people or is in this state. We also have Nirvikalpa Samadhi. I am God, Sachidanand, or knowledge, power, and bliss without consciousness of duality. So he is not conscious of duality and he has no duty in duality. The Jivan Mukti or Jivan Mukta is an I am God or Sachidanand state with consciousness of duality. He doesn't have yet a role in duality. But the Param Mukti or the Param Mukta is simultaneously I am God with duality and divinity in action. So here he is both uh, creation conscious as well as God conscious. So I think this chart is important and it has to be read along with the summary on page 278, 279, and as well as the chart 5 on page 130 of God Speaks. I think we have to cross.
Just an input here. I think we can add many more columns to this. Okay, one. Our exercise. This is Baba's. I'm not.
Yeah.
But then
agreed.
And we should try to see how this can be part of the pyramid as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
maybe the table and then the pyramid.
Correct. Karthik, I have not changed anything which Baba has written. I have tried to make a table just a little.
Agreed.
So I have done that, but since that is work in progress and for discussion, so far I'm just reading from the God Speaks for our body of knowledge or research, and thereafter I will come to my table as well. Yeah, probably I'm taking a good amount of time, but I hope it helps everybody in their journey.
Yes. Go ahead.
Good use of the time. Lot of good work both you and Sunil have done. Thank you so much.
Yes, I'm.
I didn't do that. Sorry.
Ashok, one question here for everyone. So, say ordinary mukti ends the birth cycle.
Yes.
Okay. So the next three stages, Videha Mukti, Jivan Mukti, Parama Mukti, is a sort of a transition from one to the other, or each one is a different entity where it ends, except for Param Mukti, which has a role in duality.
Yes.
So, what we try to understand here, or given to understand, is that each one goes ahead and then the last one is Param Mukti. Why I'm telling you that is, say those who have got the ordinary Mukti, they end the cycle. So those who go to Nirvikalpa, so immediately can they become Videha Mukti or Param Mukti or Jivan Mukti, or should they go through all these things to become the Parama Mukta?
No,
so this is the,
Mamaji, I think different strokes for different folks based on your own individual prarabdha or sanskaras. So some may end at ordinary mukti, some may immediately transit from nirvana to nirvikalpa samadhi, and from the after dropping their body, they may get into a videha mukti stage also, and some may go to jivan mukti, and very rare can go to Param Mukti as well, depending on their role as defined by.
No, Ashok. Ashok, his question was, does a person who is in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which is applicable to Majzubs or Paramahamsa, and people who are Jivan Muktas and Parama Muktas are Sadgurus who experience Sahaja Samadhi.
Correct.
So do they go directly from Nirvikalpa Samadhi to become a Jivan Mukta or a Sadguru? No. From what I have understood or read about other saints, as just like you have the first stage of fana and then the second stage of real fana, nirvana, nirvikalpa samadhi, and as rightly said, nirvikalpa samadhi, most souls after 3 or 4 days drop their body. A few, based on their prarabdha karma, will become majzubs, And then but to fill in that 56 God realized, aspect, because
Yes.
the whole divine theme is fine tuned, as we know. So definitely they will go through the Majzub state, because we know that in Jivan Mukta, you have two types. Videha Mukti, Videha Muktas. The Videha Mukta, who is in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, after 3 or 4 days, most of them will drop their body. A few of them will retain their body to fulfill the purpose of the divine theme. So they will be Majzubs. Then some Majzubs will become Paramahamsas, either at Majzub Salik or Salik Majzub, which is what Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was. And from there, they will transition to become a Jivan Mukta, which is like a real Salik, which is in Sahaja Samadhi, spontaneously and simultaneously, both in God consciousness state and material body state, which is material body and creation consciousness simultaneously.
That's
So, which is the difference between, sorry?
both in creation consciousness and God consciousness would be the Paramuktas. Is that correct understanding?
No, Parama Muktas and Jivan Muktas.
Okay.
The difference is both Parama Muktas and Jivan Muktas are in Sahaja Samadhi.
Yes.
One has a role, the other one doesn't have a role.
Yeah. So
In divine.
Speaks
as right.
the first kind of, okay. So the idea is that the difference between Nirvikalpa Samadhi and Sahaja Samadhi is that simultaneously and spontaneously they will be in both states, abiding in both states, God consciousness and creation consciousness and body consciousness. But Paramahamsa alternates. Either he will be in the God consciousness state or he will be in the creation consciousness state. Whichever dominates is either a Majzub Salik, where God consciousness state dominates, or a Salik Majzub, where creation consciousness dominates. That is the Paramahamsa of two types.
Yes.
Jivan Mukta also we know from God Speaks, there is the Akmal. The first kind of Jivan Mukta can give self-realization to only one person, whereas the second type of Jivan Mukta can give self-realization to many, which is called Akmal, a rare breed. And I believe Ramana Maharshi was like that. Then, of course, we have the Sadgurus, basically, who are directly dealing with the public, and they have their spiritual duty with humanity to help others to become God realized. So that is the difference. Jai Baba. And I think Ravi might have I just got this insight, because if Baba talks about ordinary mukti, Videha mukti, Jivan mukti, and Parama mukti, so there is from what Ravi says, that nirvana could be a transition state, because ordinary mukti is for all of us, because moksha happens to all drop souls. Because ordinary moksha is somebody with sanskaras still, but gets out of the cycle of samsara, because annihilation of the mind, which is sanskaras becoming zero, is the mandonash is the goal. I mean, let's put it that way.
Okay.
Then,
Can I add
before say,
something? Can I add
sorry, let
something,
me
Mamaji?
rephrase this. So, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. To answer Mamaji's question, Mamaji, you are right. Ordinary mukti, people die and they get liberation. Okay. That is for the people, as Kama said, with the sanskara, with desires. Those are the people. But the people in the physical body go through, not all of them, but different kinds. Everybody with the physical body. Okay, now I'm talking about the category people with the gross body on this earth. They go through nirvana, which we already talked about it. Nirvana is nothing but clearing of all the sanskaras. That's all there is to it, an intermediate state. And then everybody goes through Vaidehi Mukti. That means God realization. Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, all these four states. Okay. And all of them become mazubs. All of them become mazubs. And this is easy for the perfect masters. By just a wink, they can give mukti to anybody. Okay, that's so there's no work involved from the perfect masters. And the people with the mazoops, either immediately or within 2-3 days, they drop the body and they get the God realization. Okay. But some people, because of the prarabdha, very few people, they go on to forward, that is Jivan Mukta state. And for this, perfect masters have to work for them to move from Mazub state to Brahmibhuti state to the Jivan Mukta state. Okay, that's a different story. So the people who moved on to Jivan Mukta, they experience Bakabila and Fanafila. So these are two types. One is Jivan Mukta, the other one is Paramahamsa. And there is a slight difference between these two. The both categories are in a Turiya Avastha state. We heard the word, right? Turiya Avastha. What is Turiya Avastha state? Now let us be clear with the Paramahamsa state. Paramahamsa is in Turiya Avastha. Either he can be in God realization, that means experiencing the all the three states of God, infinite power, infinite knowledge, and infinite bliss, or sometimes they will be in the human state, experiencing human being, conscious of being human. So they can be either human state or God, Mazub and God state. That is the state of Paramahamsa. Jivan Mukta, on the other hand, is also in the Turiya Avastha state, but they choose whether if they choose to be God, they have the option to experience the God state. If they choose to be human, they can be in the human state. So they are in the Turiya Avastha state. And whereas Paramamukti is attained by the perfect masters. There are only 5, we all know there are only 5 perfect masters. Now, who get to be perfect masters? I believe it was decided when the drop souls are created. It is not prarabdha or anything. It is the divine decision which drop soul will become perfect master, which will not. So that is all decided. So when one perfect master drops, when his duty is done, he drops the body. So next in line, either Jivan Mukta or Brahmibhuti, Mazub, they will take up the position of a perfect master. And the perfect master is not in a Turiya Avastha state. They are simultaneously experiences God state and human state. That means they have a gross body, subtle body, and mental body. They can go into any planes and they have duty. And that is the difference between the three. So once they get the I am God state, once they drop, they get the union with the unmanifest form of the God, whether they will be in Vaideha Mukti or Jivan Mukti, or after the duty when they drop the body, the perfect masters will become one with the God. That is the differences. I hope I answered your question, Mamaji.
Uh, uh, Hopefully so. What you try to tell is those who have become Videha Mukti, some of them drop their body, some of them go ahead to become Jivan Muktas, and some of the Jivan Muktas drop their body, and only a very few or minuscule go to the stage of Paramamukti. Is it correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
Is all
totally.
destined. Is
Yeah.
all destined.
So
So
it is
everybody who
sort of
drops
a progression.
no, not necessarily. When the ordinary mukti comes, they become one with the God. When mazoops become one with the God after they drop the body, even if they reach a Jivan Mukta state, when they drop the body, they will become one with the God.
Yes.
And perfect masters, how they finish the duty, they will become one with the God.
Shall I continue?
Jawab.
Ashok, I have one suggestion or a question for you. So
Yes.
have you built in the 4 journeys in your story?
No.
Okay. We can try to do that later. Okay.
See, this is my individual effort supported by Sunil, and this is just the start off. It's the
Yes.
kick off meeting.
Because we
And
can gel that also into this story.
yeah, so you all can build on this. That is
I
from
think last year I
ordinary,
think I gave a
ordinary
presentation.
to Videha presentation to a Jivan presentation to a Param presentation. So
Yeah.
I leave it to everybody. Okay.
I think last year, Mamaji, I already gave a presentation that has got the 4 journeys, if I remember right.
Yes, yes, but only thing is the way we are discussing now, the progression can also include that aspect so that it becomes a grand, clear vision.
Oh, okay. So we'll build on this, Mamaji. I'll just
Okay.
continue with your permission. Are there any
Sure,
questions?
sure.
Are there any other questions? Fine. So moving on. See, now this is something, this is done as the a part of a summary. And let me clarify, this is compiled only for study, adapted from DAX, and this can be bettered upon. So the 4 muktis which Baba had summarized in God Speaks, ordinary mukti, I've given it a abbreviation OM, and here the status of the body is after death. And so here the headings as it goes is type of mukti, status of body, consciousness, and their equivalent in the mystic, Sufi, or Vedantic terms, and duty and duality. Okay, so after this was prepared, we can always add to the blank spaces or areas which I have mentioned is to be discussed or researched. So ordinary mukti is after death. Here there is Anand, bliss only, no consciousness of I am God or duality. And in the mystic terms, they call it as liberated, I think liberated. Yeah. And Sufi, they call it Nazat. But this was not mentioned at the time of preparation. Thereafter, I could get that. And then in the Vedantic uh, terms, would it be Jivatmas is what I was thinking. And they have no duty in duality. So whatever is mentioned in purple can be added upon. And then we have the Vidhe Mukti. Here retains body for a period of ranging from 3 to 4 days to any extended period based on individual prarabdha. That is what is mentioned in the God Speaks. If anybody wants to correct this, give me the reference and I'll understand what to do this chart.
I think using Jivatmas attain Nirvana may end up confusing people.
Okay.
Right? So maybe a little more research and then figuring out what's the right one for Vedantic may be better. That's my humble suggestion.
Yes, yes. So this is the one in purple is areas to be
Discussed, finalized, whatever.
finalized. Yes, it's in a, and I also was not really certain because there's no certain mention in where in my research. Okay, yeah, good suggestion, Karthik. And then the Videha Mukti retains body for a period ranging from 3 to 4 days or to any extended period for some rare few. Here there is I am God state, and the consciousness is having Satchidanand or knowledge, power, and bliss without consciousness of duality. So here also there is no consciousness of duality. Or and then we have they are in the mystic terms they are known as divinely absorbed, and or a Mazhub Kamil in the Sufi terms, or Brahmi Bhuth. This is the Brahmi Bhuth which we have in the also in the chart 11 and other places. Okay, they have no they have no duty in duality. Yes, Mamaji.
I feel we need to either remove avatar from this chart or put him at the bottom or the last stage or things like that. Or
Okay.
you can create a new, say, horizontal section. After Param Mukti, we can add avatar because avatar is totally different. He doesn't go through any of these stages. He
No,
directly, there is a lot of difference. No, it is better to
I will do that.
de-link.
Mamaji, let's just come to that. I'll explain that part. Why I have taken 3 parts.
Now,
And
why I brought this is, as we see this, we as though think that Jivan Mukta becomes Avatar and then Avatar becomes Sadguru, or and we may have an idea that Sadguru is greater than Avatar.
okay, we can do the cosmetic changes.
No. Avatar. Avatar doesn't go through evolution, reincarnation, involution
That's
process.
fine. It should be
We know that
not.
Avatar comes down with
Uh,
Avatar comes down with Vijnani Sanskaras, which is veiled, and then after meeting the particular Sadguru, that the five Sadgurus, or like what happened with Baba with Upasni Maharaj, he becomes God realized and then works with his Yoga Sanskaras. Avatars never come with any, never go through any kind of any of these Jivan Muktas, Majub. Yes, they might, like when Baba was kissed by Baba John, he was in a Majub state for 2 years. We can look at it that way. But any avatar is an avatar. That's it. He comes veiled with Vijnani Sanskaras. And then after the veil is opened, he becomes the avatar and works with his Yoga Sanskaras, just like the Sadgurus. Jai Baba.
okay, then Mamaji, I'll just clarify what I have done, and then we can.
Yes.
Okay, then we have the Jivan Mukti. Here, the status of the body. I mean, then that needs to be added, or you can research in that. And here we have the I am God or Sachidanand stage. Here they have the consciousness of duality. The Jivan Muktas have with consciousness of duality. They are known as liberated incarnate in mystic terms, Salik a Kamil or Azad a Mutlak in the Sufi, and Jivan Mukta in the Vedantic terms, and yet they don't have any duty in duality. Now the Param Mukti, and this part I have, where Mamaji was referring to, I have made it into three. But here there is simultaneously I am God or Sachidanand with duality and divinity in action. So here this is a different category where they have they are both creation consciousness as well as God conscious. Here I have divided into three. So I'm trying to match Param Mukti with chart 11. Now, of course, the highest of the high here is Savior under mystic, Rasul or Avatar. He remains the highest of the high. Some may become Kutub or Sadguru or perfect masters. Yes. And they have a role in duality. And there's also a mention of supremely perfect one or Salik e Mukammal. And the Vedantic term is also Sadguru. Okay. This is after I give this. I if everybody agrees, we will make this Sadguru. Yes. And so this is just the a summary prepared for discussion. You all can write back to me, and I'll change it accordingly, and we'll try to make it a little better from here. Okay. Yeah. Then we have from the page 250 of discourses and chart 11, Nirvikalpa and Nirvana. Just try to make a small table. So in Nirvana, there is annihilation of the mind, or is also known as the final fana, and we also have so in the chart they have mentioned Manonash. They have not mentioned Nirvana. The one in blue is added by me. So in the chart 11 of Baba, if you look, they are comparing Nirvikalpa and Manonash. And thereafter, they are mentioning God realization and annihilation. And so the final fana is nirvana, and the fana fila is nirvikalpa. And there is a mention of anal hulk. This space is blank. So basically, anal hulk is a Sufi term. Then we say in Vedantic, aham brahmasmi, or I am God. And nirvana is a absolute vacuum state. Here, although they mention that only state in which consciousness is, but God is not, but since there cannot be a situation where God is not present, he is omnipresent, God takes up the form as a super consciousness or Mahachaitanya. Okay. Here, both Nirvikalpa and Nirvana can be experienced before giving up the bodies. Okay. And of course, the liberation happens and we escape from the rounds of birth and death. Okay. And
the previous chart, yeah, not this one, next chart. No. Go ahead. Whatever here, the last but one chart.
Last but one chart is this.
What you are discussing right now, Nirvikalpa and Nirvana.
Yes, this one.
Here, those who are in the Nirvikalpa stage,
yes,
some may go through further cycles of birth and death, isn't it?
Here, when we say rounds of birth and death,
no. They won't go through. Once
they
they
won't go
drop
I
the
don't
body,
think so too.
they become one with the God. That's it.
they're,
No
they're,
more persons.
No,
yeah.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you why I'm asking this question. Then, who are the Mazhubs? Who are the Saliks? Who are the Sadguru? How do they reach? From where they reach that stage?
From sixth plane. With the
So
help
they
of
start from Nirvana directly to that stage, is that?
It can be a different thing. So,
yeah,
Mama,
Nirvana to Nirvikalpa state.
Ah.
From there to Jivan Mukta state. Yeah.
No, a few of them will have to come back to do the other journey.
Mamaji, here when we say rounds of birth.
What is the question, Mamaji? What is your question clearly?
Say here it says Nirvikalpa, one who has reached Nirvikalpa will end the cycle of rounds of birth and death. Majority of them I accept. But there will be a few who will go through the cycle of birth and death to reach higher goals.
See, sir, Mamaji, that means that
the same.
your reincarnation. Just let me answer what I understood. When we reach the Nirvikal Samadhi, you are free from, you are liberated. Okay, which means that you are free from reincarnation, because that is the shift from plane 6, from 1 to 6. You can have, in the process of involution, you can have reincarnation. That means it's not real birth or real death. I would suggest that if you can read the supplement 19, it will clarify. But
No,
here,
I accept
Nirvana,
99% of those who reach Nirvikalpa end their cycle of birth and death. And there will be a minuscule who are left behind, who have a higher goal in life. They will go ahead to the other stages until the pinnacle of Sadguru.
Within the
Otherwise,
same
how
body.
do we reach that area?
Within the same body.
there is no, I think the body drops. I mean, to reach.
No.
So I think we are getting confused here. Drop your.
There was no need to put that column of escape from rounds of birth and death, because
Exactly. I think
ordinary mukti or moksha after death is samsara. Nirvikalpa samadhi is also samsara. Nirvana is also samsara. So there was no need to put that.
I can remove it.
Jai Baba.
I can remove it. If it's creating confusion, I will remove it. It was just for my study and research. I can remove that. Yes. So Mamaji, does it answer your question? There is no reincarnation, as in once you cross the threshold from 6th plane to 7th plane, you are liberated, which means there is no reincarnation. Is that a correct understanding, or is there some confusion in this?
Yes, because they don't have any more sanskaras. Sanskaras are the only thing that causes the people to rebirth, right?
Correct.
So they have yoga sanskaras. You have universal mind.
No, we have, once we reach nirvana, there is an annihilation of the mind, or manonash. Thereafter, there is no, I can remove this if this is creating confusion. That was for my own understanding. I'll remove it for the final, or whatever you want to put in the, in the Trello or any other public domain. I'll remove it. This is only for my understanding, what I read from the literature.
Ashok, I like the word escape.
Good, thank you. And I would also suggest that people can read supplement 19. So here what I'm trying to say is that it is the real birth and real death only happens once, and reincarnation is just changing of bodies or changing of clothes or costumes, for our understanding. And if this has created confusion, I'll remove it. Okay. And so with that, I come to an end of my little research. I had promised this, and I said in Baba's service, selfless service and love, which are the twin qualities. I just did a small 2 cents of my understanding. I'm happy if people can add to this body of literature with proper references. Jay Meher Baba. Jay Meher Baba.
Love you,
These
Ashok.
slides,
Love you. Great work.
great work,
And I think
Ashok. And then
Good job,
I need
Ashok.
a set of these slides to think over, do something on that.
I will also share the Word file. Okay. So
Where is the pyramid here? You have not shown once again the pyramid.
that is
That is a different. Okay.
here. Can you see my this thing? Here I have changed a little bit thereafter. Can you all see this? Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, yes. We
Yes.
can. We are seeing.
So basically, I've added moksha for ordinary mukti, and Vidya mukti are Brahmibhuts, and Jivan mukti is Jivan muktas. And here, Mamaji, this was of course meant for discussion. And here, when we say avatar, he is the highest of the high, and their state is in Sahaj Samadhi. So Jivan mukta and Param muktas are in Sahaj Samadhi. Thanks to Kama, our discussion with Kama has brought this up, because we always, as students, we are on our path to bettering ourselves. So Kama has helped me there. And the other
I
one is,
think the only problem here, as we look at it, what I told earlier, so that we can create another
Avatar.
horizontal column for avatar.
yes, I'll put a box, or
Avatar separate from this whole chart.
So
At
Mamaji,
the bottom, you can show that.
so Mamaji, I'll give this to you all, and let everybody contribute on this. So instead of me becoming the only, I would request everybody to to contribute on this body of knowledge. This was just a startup or a start, and
Great startup. Go ahead.
which Karthik mentions that we can become a unicorn. And further, my penchant with pyramids. So Mamaji, this sort of probably explains my my sentiments for avatar. I have put avatar on the top, then Sadguru or perfect master or Kutub, right? Which means that of course the avatar always remains the highest of the high. Then there is this beyond state of God, which is a unknown paradigm for,
Yeah.
and there's not much body of research. This is an area of research. If somebody can really go from this from this unknown to the known, so this is a body of research. This is an area of research, if you think in academic terms, but it's going to be really, this is going to be really tough, because there's not much
That could be achieved only by a Sadguru or avatar, not by the dropouts like us.
I'm just saying that for our group, if somebody wants to research, this is an area of research, of going from unknown to the known. And here I've given the reference of Nirvikal Samadhi, which is basically for the Videha Mukta or Brahmibhuta or the Paramahansa. So with or without the consciousness of the Tribhuvan or the triple sphere, including the fourth composite sphere and Nirvikal Samadhi. And here there is this Sahaj Samadhi with the consciousness of Tribhuvan, or known as Jam with Fark. And here Sahaj Samadhi or Atma Pratistapana with the duty of Tribhuvan, Man God Bakabila, Vidyan Bhumika. It was missed in the presentation. But if there's any correction in this, please, I will be sharing this file as well to the group.
Yes, yes.
If there is any mistake, error, I'm asking for forgiveness from Baba, and from asking all of you to correct this. This is a small little effort from my side. Jai Baba.
Good
Awesome,
job, Ashok.
awesome.
Great job. Yeah.
Great job, Ashok. Thank you so much for putting this together. And I think the way forward is to sharpen, complete, and then create something that is useful for all people on the path, not just this group, right? Obviously, this I think you picked up exactly what the group needed. And isn't it amazing? The last 1.5 hours that we have discussed today, if we rewind to 2020 March, where were we and where are we now?
Yes.
It's an amazing journey, and I think it's. I picked up two things: that contrast between where we started and where we are, and the second, the level of objectivity was there on display. Thank you, Baba. Right, so it was just facts that were fought. We were going after to make sure that we are adding value to our conceptual understanding and completing this exercise for our better and collective understanding, which is a tribute to our group as a whole. Khalid, you have something to say.
Jai Baba, everybody.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba Khalid, we miss
Appreciate
you.
Jai Baba Ravi. Ashok ji, appreciate the efforts that you have put in. But there was a small suggestion, if you find it appropriate, if you can make that change.
Yes, yes.
At some places, few places, the word God-fearing has been used. If that, if find appropriate, can be changed to God-loving. Just an observation.
I think God-fearing is used to describe OM, right?
Yes,
Kama,
yes.
help me here, right?
Yes.
Because
God
I think
uses that word, yeah, God
for
fearing in
ordinary
God speaks.
mukti, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. For those deserving OM is given to the God-fearing. So they may not be in the love path, they may not be doing anything, but they are good souls and they get the bonus of getting OM and wiping off their. They don't have to come back again.
I
It's
think
my understanding.
yes, and I think it's mentioned in the God Speaks as well.
Yes,
Yes,
it
it is there in God
mentioned.
Speaks. It is there in God Speaks. Yes.
Taken, Ashok ji. Thank you.
It's a good observation. These observations are always good, but all I want to say is that is achieved. Here it says ordinary mukti nazad is achieved only after death by some exceptionally God-fearing, truth-loving, good souls, and this mukti usually comes 3 to 5 years after the soul has left the body. This is from the description about. This is from either God Speaks or from discourses, but it is from.
God speaks.
Anyway, it's a good observation. At least we are thinking a lot. But on this pyramid or on this, this progression, if there are any, I've taken all this from the chart 11 and from God Speaks. And if there anything, please, I would like to, only the correct version or the correct, interpretation goes out in the public. This discussion was only sort of a internal discussion and a work in progress for me. And I thank everybody, especially Karthik, for bringing me in this group on April 20, and for everybody for being the part of the family. Jai
Baba, I want one question to be answered.
Yes.
That is the primary question I asked. If everybody from the bottom to the top of this pyramid drop their body at each stage, who is the one who is going to reach Sadguru stage? So there has to be cycles of life and death in each level, I think. So that is the question which is bothering me. If Nirvikalpa ends the life cycle for everyone, who is that who becomes
Mamaji.
the perfect master?
Mamaji,
Yes.
I think it's given in tiffin lectures. Baba mentioned that who has to become a perfect master is decided when the drop is created in the ocean from the ocean.
Okay, that is
no, that's
accepted.
fine, Ravi. I think his
That's
technical question is that in so his technical finer question. I get it, but I
Yes.
think it is not in another birth, but in the same birth is my proposition. I don't have literature to support it, but it's a good point of research.
Yes.
And maybe that different lectures reference also can be checked.
Yeah, I kind of vaguely remember this. Sai Baba was given God realization about 600 years ago. I may be wrong, okay? Don't quote me, but I heard something like this in one of the talks. I don't know who talked and all those things. Sai Baba was given God realization by, what's his name? His tomb is there near Aurangabad. Some Muslim.
Hmm.
600 years ago. 600 years ago. So did Sai Baba, the question occurred to me was, did Sai Baba waited for 600 years to be born again and be a perfect master? I don't know.
That is what is my question. There are a few souls who go through this cycle for the benefit of everyone else, and then reach the different stages. That is one probability. Otherwise, there should be other explanation.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. Once
But
they
just
get
as a
God
point of,
realization,
yeah, go ahead.
once they get God realization, it doesn't matter. They don't have any karma to face. It's a matter of being stagnant for experiencing God state for 600 years. There is no time for the God's people who got God realization. So it's not a question of time. But for us, there is time, and he has to be born again after 600 years. So it doesn't matter, I guess, right? If that information, whatever I'm saying, 600 is correct. I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Karthik, you had something?
That is an area.
I think that I don't have anything. So I'm badly out of time. I really had like a hard stop at 9, so I'll jump off now. You guys want to continue? You can.
Yeah.
Uh,
I just want to say,
since that-
Karthik, now I got it. Jarjari Baksh was the Sai Baba's guru 600 years ago. I think Baba mentioned that. Now I'm getting the Baba mentioned. This is what, well, who else will mention except Baba, right? 600 years old, what happened, and all the details. Jarjari Baksh, his tomb is there near Aurangabad. Yeah.
Mamaji,
very interesting.
Mamaji, for us, souls who are in the world of duality, I think even reaching ordinary mukti or OM or moksha and liberation from, achieved by most souls, it would be a good enough target as of now. And let's see what prarabdha we have and where we reach.
Yes. No, because
Bro, I made up my mind on MOM 2 years back. Okay, so when I heard OM
because I have made
minimum
up my
ordinary
mind to Sadguru stage, so I need to know all these things in detail, no?
That is what I was going to say. I know it's a personal doubt, Mama.
So, Mamaji, please keep us in mind.
Okay. All right.
Thank
On
you.
that nice
Jai
note,
Baba. Jai
a lovely Sunday, great learning and great camaraderie. I really loved today's session. Have a great week ahead. Ashok, if you're okay, I can spend 15 minutes when I'm on the road. I won't have my laptop, but I can help you put all this on Teams if you're free at 9:30, 9:45.
Yeah, myself as well as I think others who can want to join and understand the teams. Yeah, fine, absolutely.
Yourself and who? Your audio kind of broke up.
So Sunil,